boxing, MMA, where do you stand on that? You know, I think where we stand on it, but you know, there's different topics and there's different, you know, elements of that issue as a bigger issue. And the thing that we're talking about right now is James Toney has come out and said, you know, I'll fight against, you know, somebody in the UFC and probably, you know, not in a title anything, but you know, Mayorga, right?
Yeah, Ricardo Mayorga.
I think he has fought or is going to fight very soon. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows Ricardo Mayorga, and you know, it's one of those things where you.
Yeah, well, you know, I think for boxers, I think it's an easier transition to go from boxing over to MMA. Not maybe that it's easier because, you know, you got the takedowns and the wrestling, but I think if you're a fighter, you got a better shot, because a lot of those guys right now are standing up, boxing, throwing some haymakers and some sloppy punches, and they're just not as crisp as a boxer, you know. I think the transition for them, a good fighter to go over there, obviously they're getting to keep it up, you know, they get a good or half decent takedown defense. You know, Chuck Liddell was great, he never went to the ground. It was always just backing up, throwing punches, not even so much kicks, and he was like one of the best guys. You get a boxer that learns good takedown defense, not afraid to mix it up, not afraid to get hit because they'll be able to take the punch because that's what they used to do in boxing.
Right.
You know, it's just, for me, I see a boxer having more success going from boxing to UFC or MMA for that matter than an MMA fighter going to boxing, standing toe-to-toe, not being able to do any takedowns or have the opportunity to you know, kind of take a break and try to wrestle somebody. You know, it's toe-to-toe, and it's who's ever better toe-to-toe.
I think the stamina, too, would come in, you know, the conditioning. You know, there's a difference there when you train for kind of something that's not so exerting in terms of, you know, footwork and arm work. I mean, you know, we can lock up and then, you know, it's like we're kind of both taking a break. It seems like, I know it's maybe not so much that, you know.
Well, there's a lot going on, but
you know, I think the other thing you were saying is like that's, you know, all you need to do is the sprawl. You know, it's like you know, if you're a boxer,
a decent defense.
Right, just it's like, I mean, I know there's more to it.
Fedor doesn't go to the ground that often. He's like pound for pound one of the best. Anderson Silva doesn't go to the ground that often. He's pound for pound, you know, 1 or 2 with Fedor. I think it just, you know, for boxers, they take a lot more shots, so you have to take a punch, and it's toe-to-toe. MMA, it's who's better at, you know, this, or this. You know, if you have 2 of those 3, you're most likely going to win. Boxing, it's who's the best toe-to-toe. That's it. You know, there's only going to be one winner. Who can take a shot, who can give a shot. You know, you got to have good defense. Again, you can't tap out. You know, if things get tough, there's no, I'm out of here. You know, like you said, if you tap out, it's going to hurt. You know, obviously the ref can step in and stop the fight, but those guys take a lot of shots. I mean, typically they're taking over 100 punches. You know, over 100 power punches a fight in a 12-round fight. You know, MMA, you get hit with a shot because you got 4-ounce gloves. Most of those guys, that's it. You know, they get wobbled, and before they take too much punishment, they stop it. So,
is it coffee and tea? Is it like Oprah and Jerry Springer?
Nah.
Is it?
Well, I respect both sports. I mean, we like watching both of them. I prefer boxing. Not that I'm against MMA. I just prefer boxing. You know, I think MMA, they always have a show. It's like every week there's a show. You know, so there's never really a big show because the guys maybe they're on too much. Maybe it's a little too saturated for my taste. I don't really pay to watch it. I'll go to a friend's house, have a good time watching it. But for boxing, I'll put the time in. I'll follow it a little closer. Obviously, we do.
Wouldn't it be exciting if some of our boxers, though, fought on a more regular basis?
Ray Mercer knocked out Tim Silva in the first round, and that used to be a UFC heavyweight champ.
And he's a boxing.
One punch, knocked him down like just a big tree. Boom.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then you know, Mercer lost to Kimbo Slice because Slice, you know, who's known for just standing up and trading punches, try to tackle him and wrestle him and get him in a, you know, in a move because he knew he couldn't beat him standing up and fighting. So you go to plan B, which is taking him down and wrestling. You know, there's no plan B in boxing. It's you guys toe to toe for 3 minutes around. You know, whoever wins.
Yeah.
You know, MMA, you have options. That guy's better toe to toe, you take him down. If he's better You know, on the ground, you keep it up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You don't have that luxury in boxing.
If you start clinching in boxing, the ref's going to separate you.
Well, you can clinch, but a guy can still be good on the inside. You know, so now you're taking uppercuts and body shots that you just wouldn't take if you were outside. You know?
Yeah.
So it all depends. Obviously, you know, you got your brawlers and then your boxers in boxing. You know, you want the guy to fight your fight, but if the guy's better, he's gonna fight the fight he wants to fight against you. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting.
It doesn't matter what you do.
There's like we said, like I was saying, there's a lot of different elements, you know, to it. I mean, you just brought up a bunch, and that's really good. And I think, you know, you've also got an interest in it. You know, it's like MMA is new. Boxing's been around since, you know, before baseball and you know, before horse racing. I mean, you know, there was a time in you know, the early 1900s and even before that where like that's what it was. I mean, there's a rich history of there and champions, and you know, there will be in the future. Can you say the same thing for the UFC or MMA? I don't know how long.
Yeah, they've been around, what, 15 years? I think like 94
right.
when they first came out, maybe 15, 16 years. And they got a good fan base, and you've been to one of the events, right? One or two?
Yeah, the Affliction.
It's a good
shows.
turnout. They put on a good show. You know, they usually have a lot of fights. You know, the undercards are usually pretty good, just because it's kind of all out. You know, even if you're not good, a guy gets hit with a 4-ounce glove with a haymaker without a lot of skill, but it's still a big punch. It's exciting.
You can have tap outs and decisions the rest of the night, but if it's that one fight that's like, you know, that one knockout where, you know, timber, you know, that's awesome. But, you know, you can have that same kind of knockout with Alfredo Angulo, you know, or, you know, I mean.
Or Pacquiao when he knocked Hatton out in the second round, out cold.
I thought he was dead.
With 8-ounce gloves, you know. So
yeah.
The gloves are bigger, the guy, you know, end result is it's still a knockout.
I guess we started with Toney and Mayorga, so I you know, it's
what kind of success do you guys think they're going to have?
And what kind of interest?
Obviously, they're older.
And what kind of interest is there? You know, I mean, you know, would you watch that? I think I might. You know, I love James Toney though. I mean, SoCal.
Both those guys, Mayorga too. You know, they're both shit talkers. They both show up to fight. It's not like they're ducking anybody ever. You know, they both come out there to put it on you. Obviously, whoever they fight, hopefully it's a guy that's willing to stand up more. You know, I hate to see it go to a wrestling match and, you know, get put in a lock move when everyone wants to watch them so they can see how they do toe to toe. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that out of all the boxers there are out there, that you know, if anybody's gonna make a switch over to UFC, it'll probably be the likes of Toney and Mayorga, and you know, again, you know, I mean,
it's unfortunate that they're a little bit older. You know, I think they're both in the mid to late 30s. You know, they're making a switch. They're not going to be as. It's not like the James Toney when he was 25,
right.
King of the Ring, fighting in UFC. You know, he's at the tail end of his career. You know, he's making a switch. You know, he was always like a middleweight, super middleweight, something like that, light heavy. He's been recently fighting heavyweight because he's got a big tire around his waist. You know, I don't know what weight class he's going to fight. I'm assuming it's heavyweight. You know, who's going to fight like a guy like Brock Lesnar, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, 265 pounds coming at him full speed that has a wrestling background. You know, maybe he catches him on the way in because he's fast enough, but you never know. If he hits anybody in the UFC, they're going down, they're going out.
I tell you what, I kind of hope if he does do it that he fucking at least looks like halfway decent.
Maybe he could fight Kimbo Slice.
Hey, you know what?
There we go. Slice is like 235. Toney, who knows what he's at right now. Toney would just eat him up. You know, Kimbo would throw a couple punches, Toney probably jab, counter, and that's it. That's a fight I think I'd like to see.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, let us know what you think. I mean, Mayorga, Toney, UFC, MMA. It's everybody's got opinion, you know. So, what's yours?